I've gone through grief, I've gone through depression, where I've had to go on medication and all of that, which I still do. And it has helped in a way to, sometimes we share something like, I understand, right? I think that we must balance these two things. We must not allow people to use their mental health status as a way of diving into relentlessness. We must not use to encourage busyness. So what's this NGO pursuing? What that NGO pursuing? And then you realize that you have 5 NGOs who are pursuing the same thing. Not a problem. Can you come together and form a coalition?
Hello and welcome to the Good News Naija Podcast. My name is Desmond Ebokunwe. Today we have the honor and privilege of exploring the life and career of Toluse Francis, a distinguished mental health advocate, therapist and educator. Toluse Francis has made significant contributions to the field of mental health in Nigeria and beyond. From his early life experiences to his impactful work in psychotherapy, writing and training, Toluse's journey is a testament to resilience and dedication. This episode aims to offer viewers and listeners valuable insights into his early life, family, career, and the broader potential of mental health advocacy as a platform for empowerment and development. You'd enjoy this podcast.
You've done so much advocacy work, with mental health conversations and trying to destigmatize conversations around that, whether it be sharing your personal experiences or being in panels that truly push for these conversations. Do you feel like that people see you beyond that?
I think that I suffer a stigma. I suffer a stigma in the sense that the only thing that people think about me is around mental health. But I think that has to change because how we present mental health conversations also have to change. Oftentimes we throw it like in the faces of people about mental health. But for example, I do relationship therapy, I'm coach, but I don't come out as a relationship coach or therapist. And the reason is because I've come to realize that at the bedrock of our lies relationships, whether it's platonic or romantic or the workspace. Because we are social beings, right? So everybody wants to be seen, wants to be heard, wants to be felt. And so how we relate with people and how we are perceived plays a role in our mental. And that's why I agree so well that one of the tenets of mental health is actually social well-being, right? In the sense that your ability to relate with people socially helps your mental well-being a whole lot, aside from the cognitive and the psychological aspect. So yeah, I suffer from that stigma of always a mental health guy. And so they think that when it's in leadership, they don't call me. Some people don't even know, which again, I have to take a screen for that. But let's go to my LinkedIn page where you know that I have for Educate Express and supply chain practitioner. Having worked with foremost supply chain or e-commerce companies in Nigeria. But then like it's a tag that I carry boldly because I started out in 2015 and it's been a journey for me. And I think that for every year I tend to look back, I'm like, okay, this is where I was, before now. This is where I am right now. And I'm much more excited that I'm one of those voices that has kind of like pushed mental health forward. And today I see people come up, who are doing so much about advocacy, and I'm excited. I may not be at the forefront of, campaigning, carry placard and stuff like that, but avenues like this where I have opportunities to share my thoughts, gladdies my heart. And then when I see people reach out to me for ideas, I'm excited that the journey that started back there has spurred a number of people. I remember my first interview with Chude. I think that was 2017 or 2018, and so the idea was he was supposed to host me on Instagram Live, but somehow I ended up being the one hosting why he asked me the question. And one day he decided to acknowledge my acknowledgement. That melted my heart because by the way, I'm a fan of Chude. I don't care what people say about it. But but it's one of those people who has taken the conversation around mental health away from just throwing it in the face of people, to go deep into the core of our human existence. And I think that's the beauty of it. That's what I want people to pick each time I'm invited to speak, each time I write. I want to take attention away from mental health as a complex thing, or to dive deep into the human, like our interaction with people, how we are perceived, our relationship, our work, from empathy to how we view people. And so I read that outwardly, and when people try to like, oh, are you an advocate? Are you a therapist? Are you, I'm like, you know what? Just call me a thought leader. Because I mean, I think that I have helped myself and through God to try my possible best to convey the message. And I'm grateful that for everywhere I get to speak, it would take something tangible. My goal in life is that someone can say, because I listened to you, I give life another chance. Because I read something from you, I became a better person. Have I achieved that? I really can't say. Have I met a few persons who have come back? Yes. But I've also realized that they are silent readers. They are silent listeners. I walk into it and I'm like, oh, I listen to you speak, so I'm like, oh, wow. You never commented on my post on Instagram or on Twitter, but they are reading. And I think that those are the ones that everybody will have, those kind of people who we have touched their lives in more ways than one. They will not come out to say, but somewhere, somewhere, wherever they are glad that they interacted with something. That's all about everybody. So about the back up their minds that the simplest thing that you go everyone is them a touch in their lives that they'll remember for good, and be kind. Every human being is skeptics.
He has an expectation from people. So I do have a friend who is a therapist, but then we'll call him out for unintentionally therapizing a lot of us. So when we are speaking about the situation, we're like, you have abandonment issue. And we're talking. So it always worries you. And then when I said, I support in the core amount of it, but then we also understand it. So how you navigated conversations of people, friendships, and seeing that as one, as a human who needs those interactions, and somebody who has these experiences as a therapist to have these conversations with these people. Is it usually hard to blur the lines?
So it's not hard for me. I think that I have mastered compartmentalizing these days, right? So because one of the dangers of this is people assume that in conversing with you, you already know. And so they expect that you should understand why they're behaving the way they are behaving. But it puts a therapist in a bad light when for every conversation you are psychoanalyzing. You would enjoy the relationship because you're going to be looking for faults. And because you're looking for faults, you won't get them to even open up to you as they should. So early on in my practice, I decided to compartmentalize to share as a person and the therapist. So if you come to me as a friend and you are sharing thoughts with me, I would ask you, do you want to hear my thoughts as a friend, or do you want to hear my thoughts as a professional? And the reason is because a number of our friends cannot take the truth when we tell them as a therapist. And also ethically, I'm not allowed to diagnose someone that I have a relationship with, because there is a tendency and the likelihood that I might be crucial or emotional about it, right? So that doesn't happen to, although people expect that I do it, who think that I do it. But I'm a critical thinker, right? And so when you're sharing stuff with me, I think of it critically much more than thinking of it as a therapist. Of course, by default, I can do what I call a prognosis. I just think of this is what is likely to likely happening to this person. And sometimes I'm able to see if this person goes this way, this is the way by end. But I don't bring that into my conversations with people, right? And has affected the relationships where people expect that I should have picked one or two to go and discuss it. And I often tell them that, look, if you don't blur that line, you find it difficult to keep friendships, because any little thing, your brain picks something and you are tempted to say it, right? At the moment you vocalize it to that person, there's going to be a withdrawal. because showing up to a therapist alone is work. Now, if I have this spread, who is quick to pick issues when we're just conversing, we're just joking, you won't enjoy that friendship. So it's advisable that you blur that line. I have conversation with my psychiatrist, right? And we joke and discuss without necessarily bringing the idea of she is my psychiatrist, right? We meet up, we discuss, we chat, how is work, how is life, or she sees an opportunity, she shares with me. But this is my psychiatrist. So when we have to be professional, when I need her to diagnose or give me an idea about something, it's a different ballgame. So I think it's important that everybody practices that. Whether you're a therapist or not, I think it's important to enjoy and soak in your relationships with people and enjoy the moment, and not get caught up in trying to label or tag. Just because you see something does not necessarily mean that you have to quickly point it out. If it not becomes a pattern, right, you can have a conversation outside the way you're having fun and everyone is laughing and all of that, because you don't want to ruin the mood. If you constantly read the mood, people would avoid it. So just realize that friends are angry, like that one. If I would start telling us that we have issues with our and none of that. So I think I was able to pick that earlier. It's tough though, because you are aware, right? And so it's easy for you to pick those things, right? But you must learn to understand that you don't always have to talk. I don't always have to point it out. And you need to look at when is the right time for me to bring this up with this person.
Okay. You shared a lot about your personal experiences with grief and depression, and you've been like I even spoke very freely about having a psychiatrist and all of that. Well, uh how have your personal experiences with mental health um influenced your work as a therapist?
So I was sharing with some of my friends recently that I think I go to give the experience in real life for me to not just have a theoretical knowledge, but to have a personal knowledge of what people are going through. Um, I've gone through grief, I've gone through depression, where I've had to go on medication and all of that, which I still do, and it has helped in a way to, sometimes we share something like I understand, right? You can't really understand, you can imagine, but when you've also gone through it, you can get a glimpse into what they're probably struggling with. And that makes it a bit tougher for you as a person who has had a lead experience test. Because by the time people are talking, they're beginning to see traces that you didn't pick through your and have really led you through that journey. And so if you're not careful, the temptation is just quickly, stop it. That thing that you're doing and all of that. But sometimes you have to allow people leave, right, especially at that moment, and then have a conversation with their output to it and encourage them to seek help. So I think it has allowed me to not just have a theoretical knowledge, but to understand that there is a practical aspect to this thing. And that's why I want what I call person-centered care, right? Where I'm not using a template for everyone, because the experience that Shidi is going through is there from the experience that Jamal is going through, right? I don't know anybody by this, and doesn't mention those names. But so you need to allow them come in as a person, share the experiences, take them through that journey, right? As against having a template where for everybody that comes to you, this is a template that you want to use. So it's helpful, right? And it's also really difficult because there be times that in sessions I myself, Sarah and I get those experiences, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm sorry that I'm going through this, because I can imagine how I felt and I was going through this myself. So the top has also been helpful because it allows me to appreciate the enormous pain that people go through in those spaces. No experiences, those two experiences that are the same. Every experience is unique and each one will be.
One of the key things that we're doing while we're there was trying to stigmatize the conversation of mental health, which was for people to really be able to have conversations about mental health, to also be able to speak up if they feel the type of way and need help and all that. And we saw that opened up a lot of conversation and you started seeing more people across Nigeria coming up to speak about mental health conversation. But now we're in a place where it's now being where there's this freedom to speak about mental health, but then it's now almost being pushed or used as something derogatory for Gen Zs. So when you're like trying to tire somebody as lazy or tired that this person is going to complain about work, it's like, oh, this person is going to, the Gen Z person is going to cry out about their mental health and all of that. What do you think that concept does for the long work of people like you and the organization who've done serious work to try to destigmatize conversations on mental?
Interesting. So, I mean, I came into management and I was a counselor for a very long time. At some point, I headed a counseling unit of mentally aware, and then ended up coming as CEO up until 2021 when I left. And we had envisioned that we were going to come to this point. So I remember that some of the things that we worked on, there was a student advocacy network, which I think they had launched now, and other advocacy networks. Generation after generations, certain type of awareness comes in. We're in a generation where people are vocal. Social media has handed the microphone to the Gen Z generation. The millennials, which you and I belong to, were kind of like holding back before. How dare you have this kind of conversation? What was social media? Even though we are partaking in social media, it didn't come during our generation, right? The Gen Zs have held on to the social media gate, and the new ones that are coming out are quite like giving power to their from TikTok to Snapchat and stuff. But initially it was just Facebook, and then Instagram came in and all of that. I think that we must balance these two things. We must not allow people to use their mental health status as a way of diving into relentlessness. We must not use to encourage busyness. I think it's important that if someone comes to work, for example, say have a mental health issue, what's the diagnosis? Where is the report that you're diagnosed to have a mental health issue? Right? We can't only store things on the process. We can't always assume that the process is toxic, the company is toxic. Because the World Economic Forum, I think in 2021, it just estimated that organizations lose $1 trillion due to mental health crisis. Because when you report as that your mental health is down and you take time off work, productivity drops. Someone else started to take your job to do, right? But how then do we do this? I think that the workplace needs to evaluate and put measures in place that not prevents people from talking about their mental health, but encourages them to do it in a constructive way. Encourages preventive as against corrective, right? Opened up policy where you're able to skip if you're team lead or a manager without fear that you're going to be judged or stuff like that. But let's also be factual to what it's called correct, right? If you run a company and every now and then an employee say my mental health is affected, how do you tend to get paid? At the end of the month, how does the company make the revenue to be able to pay? So that's to me the balance between the employer and the employee. What I often say to employees is, look, when you're making some thoughts, think about yourself as an employer. Of course, if you stop work to replace someone else. So if you are constantly calling in concerning your mental health and they ask you to go because of affecting productivity, and you come to social media, are you going to tell us your whole truth of how many times in a month you are taking time off because of your mental health? You must build resilience. And I think that's one thing that we need to start talking about. It's okay for you to be truthful, but you must build resilience. It's not at every press that you collapse. You must be able to inflate yourself back to say, hey, I've faced this before, let's get going. You must prepare yourself to say, building the armor that should this come out, take it. That's how you grow. You don't grow by running away. You grow by facing it, fight it, have some scars. You win some, you lose some. The ones that you lose, you're able to come back to fight again. The ones that you won, right, gives you the armor that you need. Is that when you're playing a game, right, and then you have to like get to a state, you get some pearls or some treasures, right? It encourages you to keep going. I think that's a state that we need to start getting ourselves into, where you build yourself up for challenges that when they come rather, you absorb, right? And then you're able to move on. And the ones that are not able to absorb, it becomes a learning point for them. Go back and ask, why did I fail in this area? How was I able to absorb it? We can't afford to just play or ride on the tide of mental health. If imagine if everybody in the company is doing that, and at the end of the month you want to be paid. I mean, you're going to deprive the organization of one staff, and then come to consistent pay. So imagine in a month 6 staff members decide to go on leave because of mental health. Your annual leave is there for that reason, for you to take a break and and think about yourself and then take care of yourself. But what do people do with their annual leave these days, right? They go to do another job, or they're not really resting. Some of them want to go on leave and stuff like that. The human resource practice that has put annual leave there, put it there for a reason, for a purpose, because every calendar year you need that time to go back, rest, refresh, and they come back better off for a more immediate take.
What do you think are some strategies that companies can adopt to address these conversations, to take in some of these conversations and also build empathy?
A very, very interesting question. I think that in as much as companies want productivity and I want to make money or revenue, it's important to infuse some team bonding activities, some out of office activities.
It's about the board. I'm like, what should it? You know what? But then during COVID, I didn't like on that thing, but they were like, I don't want to come to the office. Leave me, like, let come afford team bonding activity.
Right. But it's helpful, right? Because you need an avenue to declutter, right? And I think that organizations can also begin to introduce that ranting system during these activities. Just create an avenue where people are able to rant it. But most importantly, I'm going to say that people need to fend for themselves. You are the most important person in this life. The company may not always do things that suit you, right? You have to devise for yourself how you want to do these things, right? You must be able to wake up to say, I'm going to create fun for myself. I'm going to take time off to declutter. Do you want to journal? Do you want to, go somewhere and just spend time with yourself? It's important that you think for yourself first before waiting for the company to think for you, because the company has a lot of people. You are just one person out of everyone in that company. You all don't have the same personalities. The activities that someone likes may not be the activities that you like, but you as a person, can you create for yourself an activity that allows you to shed off the overload of work, and then you can always come back, because you can't blame people for your inactions. You can't come to work, misbehave, and blame it on the fact that it's your mental health. Then you must be able to take responsibility. So I encourage organizations to have these team bonding activities where let people go out of office, right? See them in their true color outside of work. The ability to express yourself.
True color?
Yeah, the ability to
You don't want to see me.
the ability to express themselves, play games, dance and all of that, allows you to understand that that person that you see all kitted up or suited up at the workplace has a human part to him or herself. And that's the part that needs to come out during those processes, right? Departments can also organize their own time out, not necessarily waiting for the company. That's where all of you go out of work, leave work behind. One of the things that I learned in my early days working one of these companies was you can all work and work and work, and then just on Thursday, the manager can be like, guys, you're hanging out at so place on Friday, right? You'd have all worked together in the office for like maybe 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. on Friday, and 8 p.m. you're all gathered at one lounge, gisting and all that. No work conversations, forget work. It doesn't mean that they are going on by 12 minutes or 1 a.m. You don't get an email from your manager to explain why something. But that period that you are together, no work conversations. You are just, unleashing, calling everything out. So that by the time you see work-related emails or you meet the next day, you know that you and this guy just sat down yesterday. You had an exciting, even though he's your manager, right? So work is work, but there is time for fun. I think that we need to inculcate that at departmental level, at company level, and at individual level.
So yes, you are the board director.
So I've finished my role as a board director. I'm currently regional vice president in Africa.
The road they go up,
It's a volunteer role, don't worry.
you know, my. So what are some of the challenges that you've recognized? Because again, every time that we have conversations about mental health and all of this, we speak to Lagos and some of the key situations in Lagos that are peculiar to us. But then with you engaging the different countries and different people from across Africa, what are some of the unique mental health conversations and issues that we need to have?
I think my biggest challenge is Nigeria. There is so much competition amongst NGOs in Nigeria that their inability to come together to speak with one voice. I mean, you converse with organizations in South Africa, organizations in Kenya, organizations in Rwanda, I realize that they have a coalition, right? And they're able to speak with one voice in the government. We don't have that in Nigeria. And so one NGO is saying this, that NGO is saying that, one practitioner somewhere is saying this. And I think that it's one of the challenges that we have as a country in terms of being able to push a single narrative with respect to mental health. So what's this NGO pursuing? What that NGO pursuing? And then you realize that you have 5 NGOs who are pursuing the same thing. Not a problem. Can you come together and form a coalition? And it pains me, right? Because you see a lot of mental health outreaches or mental health stuff happening in other African countries, and you can see that there is one voice with which they are speaking. They're able to address the government as one voice. They're able to come out to talk about issues as one voice. But here you have everybody wanting to take the lead in a country like Nigeria. Can we just come together and speak with one voice? Can we form a coalition, even amongst practitioners, right? You have this, it's my organization, it's your organization, it's myself, it's yours, and all of that. I don't know who bewitched us as a country, but I think that we need to get to that point where we all speak with one voice. Let's come together. You find hairdressers of association, they're able to come together. NURTW exists, they fight one fight. NUPENG exists. You have TUC and all of that. It might sound like they're abstract unions, but you see, the ability to come together, as if you claim that you're fighting towards the same thing, even gives you a face before the government. It makes them kind of like listen to you. Can we come together and just do something? Can you come together and apply for a grant and run a project, as against this NGO is trying to outsmart that one? How many NGOs even come together, to do an advocacy project and all of that? And so when I look at African countries, under my purview, South Africa seems to be very strong in terms of that coalition. And then you have Kenya as well. You have a few of them who are pressing out. Of course, a number of times we'll form these NGOs based on experiences and not just advocacy. But I think that it's also important to understand that advocacy is good. We need more carers, which was the background for which I went into being a carer. Because after all the talks, after all the advocacy, what do they talk to? We can only do so little in terms of gingering them or motivating them. The problem doesn't go away by just advocating them or motivating them. They need to speak with someone, and we need to come to that point where we look for more carers. One of the things that the NGO mentioned that they had going for them was the fact that the counselors were trained. I remember I developed a curriculum towards training whoever was coming in to volunteer as a counselor. There was a manner that, like, you don't talk this way, you will do this way. But those organizations can only offer more of what I call like a first aid. And so it's important that everybody also, the barest minimum that you can have is maybe psychological first aid training or mental health first aid training. It allows you to offer that first aid, before they even talk to a professional. So I hope that I can see more collaborations. The interesting thing is even in the database of organizations or individuals who are collaborating with the World Federation of Mental Health, I find few of Nigerian organizations there. I will send out email, it will bounce back. And I'm wondering, okay, how do I reach out to this person? It's a 3-year term, 1 year ended. I'm hoping that we can do much more in the coming year in terms of reaching out to Nigerian organizations and hopefully plan a conference that will bring everyone together. But it's a role, because even though you're supervising a region, your responsibility is beyond just that region. You're tackling global issues. The theme for World Mental Health Day comes from the World Federation for Mental Health. We get a theme and then we submit it to WHO and the United Nations. I'm sure by January, the list will go out for suggestions, and all of that ahead of having the theme for 2025. But yeah, it's a voluntary role, like I said, and I'm like maybe the third Nigerian, to have occupied such a role, and still there. The first person was Samado Manoa, who happens to be a doctor. And then currently we have Professor Gabriel Ebijiaro, who is a psychiatrist in the UK, and a former president of the World Federation for Mental Health. Maybe someday I'll become the president, but I think this might be my probably last stroke for a while, because it doesn't come by, they just wake and the girls appoint. It's by nomination. Yeah, you get nominated. So there's a nominating committee that is set up. So you get nominated, nominating committee presents it to the voting members, So I'm not the only African, you have nominations from Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, which are the strongest countries in the area of mental health when it comes to Africa. You have Eastern Mediterranean. So some countries in Africa are not under Africa in warfare, like Egypt. Egypt is under Eastern Mediterranean in the World Federation for Mental Health, Algeria, and the like. So it's not a role that was kind of like handed on a platter. So you don't even get to vote yourself in. So you're nominated, and then everyone who is nominated is presented to the nominating committee, and then voting members, vote. So of course, once you are nominated, you can't vote, but it's been an exciting experience, so to speak, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve.
Okay. Speaking about experiences, how did you because you did speak about your grief and depression. How did you come out from that place and then find enough inspiration to be able to help others?
I sought help. That's the honest truth. For those who might have watched or
What does that help look like?
yeah, so for those who might have watched or listened to previous places you have spoken about grief experience, it took me 8 years before I realized I was battling grief. And it took the help of a psychiatrist friend of mine, who is the UK now, Dr. Adebayo, to help me realize I was struggling with grief, and it took me through that journey for me to come out of it. And I was all led to my first book, my first mental health book, Beyond Blue, where I talked about grief and depression and near end of life experiences. And so I sought help. Even when I had my depression in 2021, I sought help. I spoke to psychologists after the assessment. I needed to see a psychiatrist, and I took the journey personal, right? Because I was drowned, and I knew that I needed to find my head back. And so for about 4 or 5 months, I was off social media. I wasn't doing anything because I was drowned. I needed to find myself. And I was tell people that, look, we were shocked that even a therapist could have a mental breakdown. And that's the infallibility of humans, right? Sometimes people think that therapy, psychologists, psychiatrists are superhumans. We are not superhumans. We have emotions. We have blood flowing through our veins. We get hurt as well. And so it's important that people see us as human beings and treat us as human beings and not assume that we know everything or we should know everything. So yeah, the help I'm talking about is I spoke to professionals who could help me. And of course, I think the first that I suffered was, I remember when I reached out to my first psychologist, shout out to Chris Aboje, doctor anyways, was like, where do we start from? So I said, no, this time around, see me as a client. not as a junior college. That's why I chose my psychologist. I chose my psychiatrist that I wanted to work with. A lot of times people don't want to go to people who know them, right? But I chose them, right? Because I wanted people that I could be home with. I met Chris Rumani, right? He was a volunteering psychologist. I think was on his page with Manny. And then I met my psychiatrist on a panel session in Lasso, right? Lasso come had this event. No, Blue had this event, and she was moderating a panel that I was on. And somehow we just got talking. And then the next week ago, we met at Lasso come, she was speaking, I was on a panel. And, since then the conversation just, we just kept each other's contact. Once in a while I say hi to each other. And today she's a good friend of mine, And so it's important that people accept that there is help out there. I won't come here to tell you that there's a total cure for mental breakdown, but you can get yourself back and manage yourself. And I've had to. There are also other parts of my life where I had to seek specialists. I mean, there was a time I wanted to understand myself in terms of how I relate with people, and I spoke to someone who works in the real relationship. Right, I invested in it because I want to be better. Seek to be better first for yourself before you seek to be better for people. Understand yourself. What's your identity? What's your persona? It allows you to be able to relate with people better, so that you don't keep cutting people.
So would you say the because a lot of people would say now get money now they do therapy. Would you say that the government has a role to play to reduce the costing, or people need to genuinely see it as an investment that they must
I
put
don't
their
think
money
there
in?
is any country in Nigeria, any country in the world rather, where the government is able to cater solely to the health needs of our citizens, not even the mental health needs, the health needs of our citizens. It's enormous. Now, if you drill it down to mental, we don't even have enough practitioners in the whole world. So imagine the overload that the government's hospitals or health institutions have. I think we just need to put it in their budget and plan for it. And I think it's important that people understand that you don't have to wait until you can't find yourself anymore before you talk to a mental health professional. Can you try to do it maybe every quarter or every half year? Just have someone that you sit with and you're just going to check yourself in. It helps. We need to begin to practice prevention as against correction. If you have a headache and you're unable to sleep, you'll go to the hospital. You will think of the cost before going, right? Because you want to get that headache out of the way. When it comes to mental health issues, you're counting costs. And there's a therapist for everyone. If you're looking for a 5,000 naira therapist, you probably might find. There are tech platforms these days where they offer what I'll call psychological first. They even have volunteer counseling. I mean, Lagos has one, for example, Lagos Minds, where you can reach out to them and they have someone who is there to speak with you. There's SOPI, being run by Luth, Suicide Prevention Initiative in Nigeria, where you have somebody who is there to talk to you. But how much can the government do? How much can they handle? Mental health is not the only it's not the only health issues that exist. I think we just need to put it in their plans. Take away that mindset that the person will chop belly phone and they talk to and they see therapists, and realize that if you have a mental breakdown, that money that you're chasing, you can't chase it. If you have a mental breakdown, that's life that you think you want to live, you can't live it. And I think that's where to begin. Think of if everything comes crashing, that will be able to achieve the things that I'm running after. Whatever your answer is, do with it.
How can we? Because I really loved my time volunteering and just learning and seeing all those conversations, and it was very scary seeing because sometimes I volunteer with social media team where we used to escalate some issues, and you see people that there's one time that one of my very good friends was in the DMs and I was the one to escalate the issue, and I was so worried. Like, I think that was the trigger for me to leave that. I've never been so scared, and because of the privacy of it, I could not go and message the person, "Are you better? Are you okay?" I was not like, "Oh my God, have you reached out?" I was like, it was so scary. But again, it feels very fulfilling. But how can we build that type of system where people are able to undergo learn and also volunteer and help a wider community?
I think that in terms of volunteering or learning, I think the doors are always there. It's for people, how much time do they want to commit to it? Um, there are people who still volunteer and there are organizations to volunteer with. There are practitioners to volunteer with. Everybody wants to volunteer with an NGO and all of that. But I mean, and I think that we are in a country where we like certificates. I think that one of the reasons why people volunteer with NGOs is because they're hoping that they can get a certificate, to show that, oh, I volunteered with NGO and all of that.
They never give me my certificate.
But yeah, but I mean, I've met people who I asked, so why are you volunteering? Even when I was there, people were living and like, oh, can I get a certificate that I volunteered with this organization and all of that? I think that the first question to ask yourself is, what's your passion? What do you want to achieve from volunteering? How much do you care about this cause for you to volunteer? If you're able to answer that question, then you'll be able to realize that there are avenues, there are platforms. Like I said, NGOs keep opening every day. And there are mental health practitioners that can even volunteer with, just pick a role in which you want to volunteer. Do you want to serve as a social media person for them? Or do you want to manage their emails? Do you want to organize programs with them or for them and all of that? But I also think that we live in an era where people are looking for money and you can't blame them. Things are not as cheap as they were, even a year back. So if they're volunteering, how do they feed? Right. So if we want them to give their full time to volunteering, some sort of stipend, perhaps, right? Or they're able to dedicate as much time as you think they should dedicate, then you have to give them that time, that they are able to, But I think that people still need to volunteer and learn. And like I often say, everybody needs to at least get trained in psychological first aid or mental health first aid. Because if you have that knowledge, it allows you to understand the enormous work that comes with being in that field and being in that line of work. But people need to learn. I'm of the school of thought that if we can do a lot of education around mental health, would have a reduction in how many people are having to run for help. Because if you are educated, if you learn about it, you're able to guard yourself, build some level of safeguarding mechanism that doesn't allow things to deteriorate, right? But the inability to even know what these signs are, right, creates room for until things get to rock bottom. But I'm of the school of thought that in this economy in Nigeria, if anybody is volunteering with you, try as much as possible to cater to some of the bills on the internet, could be calls. If they have to come physically, give them some transport stipend, it's not a pay, it's a stipend, and it's encouraging because they need the soul to carry the body, and they must find joy in what they are doing. At the end of it, it's not about how much you give to them, right? But it's about that you appreciate their volunteerism. If you run events, cater to them, feed them, right? Feed them, cater to their transport. If you're doing a program, let them not be concerned about how do I get to this program, because they know that, oh, coming to this program is covered. Because if you take away transportation from people showing up for your program, they will come. If you used to get them and go back, they will come. You know that they will come and then they'll get something to eat and drink. Human needs covered. Feed it. It's one of basic human needs, right? So some people that might just be the only meal that they look forward to that day. So I think that organizations need to get to look at that direction.
So what are your personal aspirations in this space and in the next 5 years?
Let me do it in the next 5 years. I hope to have completed my PhD. Yeah.
My daughter.
Yeah. And it's not PhD in mental health, but it's actually in management or leadership. Yeah, because I hope that I'll be able to match theoretical experience with academics. I hope that I can pick up some sort of lecturing job. I love to teach. And I think that's why I get to talk, a lot. Yeah.
Professor.
In this field, I think I just want to be able to continue to be a voice. I want to be able to do what I love to do. Wake me up, I can talk about mental health. I want to have opportunities to talk on more global stages, address bigger audiences, even outside Nigeria. But yeah, I mean, I've been a reviewer for 2 journals, Journal of Clinical Psychology and Journal of Contemporary Family Therapy, which is a big deal for me, right? I'm someone who started from having a thought of, imagine if it took me this long, how many more people, to someone that that there are days that I have like speaking engagement back to back. Is it rewarding financially? That will tell you no, right? But I love it, right? I enjoy it, and I'm happy when I see these smiles on people's faces, like, wow, so this thing exists. Or when I see people being able to change their views about life or being able to live a better life, it gladdens my, and that's why I use every avenue that I have: podcasts, writing, videos, audios, or speaking engagements. Sometimes I turn some down, not because I want to be proud, but I have to look after myself too,
Thank you for not turning this down.
I have to look after myself too, because just have to manage them all together. And it's not easy. Practice, speaking is one thing, practice is another thing. I tell people that I'm a shy person, but you don't agree that I'm a shy person.
Me, I don't.
It's because I have built a technique around it. So if you give me a microphone on a big stage, I can talk for the next 1 or 2 hours, and you won't even know that I'm shy, right? But if you follow me closely, you would see how I manage it at the very beginning. But both are draining. Talking is draining, right? And therapy is more draining because you are taking people's problems, right? And you're trying to find a solution, for them. So, but I enjoy both, and I'm grateful for every platform that I've had and everyone who has kind of like reached out to me in no small measure. I believe that this is my own marketplace calling, even though body must be fed. So some organizations invite me. I'm like, okay, since you're not charging people for this, you pay me an honorarium, but I won't put a price to it. I leave you to think, what do you think I deserve, or cover my transportation, and all of that. But if you're a corporate organization who is making money, I'll give you invoice. Yes. Or you're running a program and you're asking people to pay. Oh, yes. I mean, it doesn't change the value that I give, right? But I've just come to realize that people don't value mental health conversations. They think that it should come free. And that has to stop. That has to stop. You won't invite a surgeon, and you expect that I should come and talk for free. When it's meant that, oh, you're helping the community, you're helping people, yada, yada, yada. I get it. We're helping people, but it's not thank you that I'll put food on the table of these people. So companies, organizations in 2025, do better. When you invite people to come and speak, give them a token. The same market that you're going to, the same market that they go to. And when they get to the market, it doesn't care what work they do. It doesn't care where they're coming from. Doesn't matter where they're coming from, rather. If the person is not dressing well, you won't call the person to your platform. The person is not speaking well, you won't call the person to your platform. People spend money to get trained. People spend money to relearn and retrain for them to be able to speak to these things or attend to these people. So let's encourage them to be able to do more by appreciating their services. Even if they don't give you an invoice, appreciate them. Yeah. Someone shared an experience with me of he was invited to come and speak somewhere, and said they're going to give him an honorarium. And when he finally opened the envelope, 2 days after, he saw 2,000 naira in the envelope. I had an experience where I was giving 5,000 naira. So since then, I mean, I'm not shy to say, I will ask you, what's the honorarium that you have in mind, depending on the kind of event you're inviting me to come and do. So again, like I said, I won't give you an invoice, right? But if you are sometimes I know limitations based on personal relationships. Sometimes I drill like, okay, so why me? Who are the people on the panel with me and stuff like that? But if you have a personal relationship, I don't even push so much. I look at my calendar, can I fit in and all of that? So, no problem, right? And I may not even bring up the question of honorarium with the person. This person supposed to rate me now, that money I take and stuff like that. But because I enjoy what I do, right? So the money is not the drive for me. It's more of the fact that I'm able to lend a voice to this cause that I'm passionate about, that I'm concerned about. And I know that I can't quantify how many people, that I touched and some that I even never meet, right? How many suicide interventions are about to be due, just because somebody called me. It's the body that I carry. It's the body that consumes me. And always hopeful that I can pass the torch to younger people who are coming up, to carry that burden and do it in the right way. And so any opportunity I have to talk to young people or people who are interested in this course, I take it to heart. My alma mater created a mental health club and that invited me to come and train these people. And I did it wholeheartedly, because it's something I'm passionate about. This year, I appealed to my alma mater twice, which was a thing of joy for me, because I did study mental health in uni. I studied biochemistry that changed my life. But I knew that I was going to practice biochemistry. So I from school and I was passionate about the human mind. Why do people think the way they think? Why they behave the way they behave? So I'm passionate about that, and I hope that till I'm old, I'm able to remain relevant. And even if I'm going to take a break, I want to be able to see other people doing better, than I am. I look at people too, I'm like, this person is doing way well, and I'm like, I'm proud of what you're doing, keep it up. Is that competition that I need to stop between organizations? Like, let's stop competing. Let's collaborate. If we collaborate, mental health conversations in Nigeria would be better. Sometimes I see platforms like if today I see platforms like Assad and the likes, and I'm seeing this person, blah blah blah. Like, can you just think of how you can come together and do something and make that huge impact? The person in the north understands the north better. Can you in the south collaborate with the person in the north and do something? Can the person in the north collaborate with the person in the east and do something? I hope I can see more of that in our country, Nigeria, as we see in other African countries. But yeah, the world is a global stage. There's space for everyone. The only thing is that as you go higher, it thins out, and won't always be here, but there's room for everybody. There's room for everybody, and I hope that people can look at my story and my journey and realize that you can start from anywhere, but you've got to be consistent. And like I've realized in the past 2 years that if we fix relationships, people are going to have better mental health stability.
I was trying to remember a question. Yeah, so I was supposed to ask about your move from biochemistry to this, but then someone asked it, and it was so when you said it, I was like, yeah, that was one of the questions I was supposed to ask earlier. But so now the final question would now be, that was supposed to be the final question, but the final question would now be, how do you manage, because you did say that you are also, beyond all of this, you are also a leader. How do you manage that and the burden of now having to sometimes use this management skill to fund the life that you want, while also doing the
Yeah, so I remember when I started out, my salary there when I started working was 50K, right? I was working in a warehouse, right? But that was the money I was using to get trained, right? I trained, I did my neurolinguistic programming, I did my life coaching license, I started studying psychology, studied mental health, studied human nutrition, I studied a lot of things. I've done product management, I've done Scrum Master, I've done data analytics, I've done a whole lot. I love learning, and I try to put all of those learnings into what I do. And so when I started out practicing, I was charging 5,000 naira then. But one thing that I have devised, and that's another thing, everyone has a device was system. So if you reach out to me today, you don't go straight into therapy sessions with me. There is a consultation and assessment, because I felt like it's cheating. If your first therapy session is where you're sharing with me your experiences and all, I feel like I'll be cheating. So let's have that first consultation where you're able to download your experiences through that journey together. They were able to come up with a framework. If you're going to go into therapy, this is how the journey is going to be. That was a system that I created for myself. And so again, like I said, I feel like I'm one of the cheapest, right? When I listen to how much other people charge. But then again, people will say it's still expensive, so to speak. And when people consider that I'm not the professional for you, so to speak, because I'm to charge in a way that is going to fund me, then I won't be charging that, right? Not in a country like Nigeria. Of course, I do have clients from outside the country because I run virtual telehealth, Rajan, UK. If I had someone from Pata, and even Saudi Arabia, reach out. But I consider myself as someone who is not living a flamboyant lifestyle. I mean, it is and it's out be and you know. So yeah, that's why you must have a job, right? If you're going to focus on something solely, then it's like when you're doing entrepreneurship, right? I won't say I'm a full-time entrepreneur as far as the mental health space is concerned, because to be honest, I think I enjoy speaking and teaching much more than therapy, because I believe that knowledge is power. If we're able to give people knowledge, you're giving them the power to live life. You don't want people to be dependent on you, that for every time there's an issue, they are running to you. That's like taking the power from them and refusing to give them the power, right? So I just do what I can do, with life. I still learn. I mean, I did my MBA in 2020 to 2021, because I wanted, to acquire knowledge as far as business was concerned, and I'm further spurred on to keep learning, and I've never stopped learning. I can't even count how many courses or certificates that I've done, but it's not about the certificate. It's about the knowledge. So no amount is too much for me to put on learning. That's my view, right? So if I could start at that point when I was earning very little, right? So you can imagine. But I think that what I'll just say is I have a job that kind of like allows me to take those courses that I want to take. And is it easy? No, right? But again, it takes me back to what I said earlier. You have to have a course. What is your course of life, right? And my view to life is, if I'm able to offer help to one person, I have saved the life, I have saved the relationship, I have saved the family, right? So imagine if I withhold that help from that person, if I'm not available. Sometimes I'm unable to attend to something. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm unable to attend to you because I can't take it in at that point in time. Because that's also the thing. You have to be honest with yourself. It's not every client that is your client. And it's not every event that you accept to speak at. Some events you'll have to seek it out, right? So that you don't lose your value. Some people are everywhere here and there. We like tags and labels in Nigeria, So today, I'm tagged as a mental health therapist. Tomorrow, I'm tagged as a mental health advocate. Next tomorrow, I'm tagged as just Toluse Francis. I don't care about the tags, right? So when people just call me a thought leader, right? Everything is embedded into that, So yeah, I spend what I have, what I don't have, I leave it out there. Just have to try as much as possible to do what you can do, and leave the rest. But if you want to become a millionaire, um, as a mental health therapist, I'm not sure that will happen in Nigeria. Maybe when you become a Jordan Peterson, but even Jordan Peterson, he didn't get to that point overnight, and I don't think he's a millionaire, but and I love Jordan Peterson, right? Like his angle of social psychology, so to speak, and he's being vocal. And I think that was one person that I really love to listen to. Another person is how can her name escape me? She's very popular. Bren.
Actually, as I talked about,
Oh, how can I forget this woman's name? I remember before we leave. Another person is Carol Dweck. I like Carol Dweck. She speaks so much to me. And I get a lot of inspiration from them. Brené Brown is one of those women that is one of those renowned psychologists that kind of like spurred my interest in grief aside from personal experience. How she's able to marry those things, together and then bring that help to people, and so one of my core areas, I said other areas, is grief, depression, anxiety, and their relationship. At the end of the day, everybody needs relationship, whether it is platonic or romantic. So if someone is depressed, check their relationship. If someone is unhappy, check their relationship. If someone has just lost a loved one, something will be taken away from them. And it's funny that sometimes people look at grief, they look at it from the angle of losing people. But losing jobs can bring grief. Losing your pet can bring grief, so grief is complex. So, but yeah, Brené Brown, Jordan Peterson, Esther Perel, Jay Shetty, who is not a psychologist, but the work that he has been able to do in being a voice. And of course, my own person that I'm a fan of, Chide, who does with Chide, who is similar to what Jay Shetty does, just allowing people to open up and share their own body. Yeah.
all right, thank you very much. This has been an amazing episode.
Have had fun.
See you on the next. It is my belief that you enjoyed that podcast conversation with Toluse Francis. Boy, that was a long one, but then we enjoyed speaking with him and getting into the mental health conversation. Speaking about things that we need you to do, because of how important the work we're doing is to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit the bell. Hit it. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And of course, follow us on all social media platforms and podcast platforms. We are the Good News Naija Podcast. My name is Desmond Ebua Ikumi. See you on the next.